Crest Road.
What's going on, world? It's your man Pat Caesar, Caesar LLC, mobile mechanic and roadside services. Trying to listen to the GPS, trying not to be stressed. Out here in the middle of nowhere, but I'm still feeling blessed. Okay, so I want to answer this question, man, that I had told this gentleman in the comments below that I would answer because I had brought it up in one of my last videos. Is it worth it in 2019 to become a mechanic? We are gonna answer this question right after the intro.
Promise that you'll catch me. Promise that you'll catch me.
All right, so is it worth it becoming a mechanic in 2019? Let me just go through. This is off of the DIZone, right? I just got done working on the car, and you know, it always gets me thinking, man, does this make any sense? It's got pros and cons. The first pro is that as a mechanic, you know how to work on your own equipment. Now, you might think, oh, well, you know, you got YouTube and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But there's a science behind knowing how this whole thing works and then putting pieces of the puzzle together to how these systems within a vehicle talk to each other. So yes, the basic stuff, I think everybody should know how to do the most basic of things. Now, whether you're physically capable, have the tools, or even want to do it is irrelevant. I just think that at least mentally you should know how to change a flat tire if you need to, you know, because although I run a roadside assistant business, you may be somewhere that there is no roadside assistance available, or you can't get anybody to get out there, which I have had customers have that problem before. So, you know, pro number one is that you know how to work on your own vehicle, okay? Pro number two, you save so much more money sometimes, not all the time. Typically, you can save so much more money by working on your own vehicle that, you know, it is worth just that, just to get the education to learn how to do things and invest in tools to learn how to do things. Besides, you know, certain things, you know, like if you blow, you know, let's say I had a customer the other day who blew a head gasket. Yeah, you can save money, but that's a very labor-intensive job, and you really need to know what you're doing before you try to rip a head off, you know, to set time in, to know how the components work, to be able to put it back together accurately. So in that sense, yeah, it might be a little bit too advanced for the average DIYer, especially in new cars. Older cars, yeah, maybe. It still kind of just depends. It's such a big job. Most people don't want to tackle that. I'm a mechanic, and most times I don't even really want to tackle it just because it takes a lot of time, and the money isn't always worth the downtime that I could be helping other customers out and getting paid more for less work in a shorter period of time. But number one, you know, pro, you know how to work on your own stuff. Number two, you usually save significant amounts of money. So number three, like I said, this is just off the dome. This isn't scripted. I'm just telling y'all from personal experiences, and I just got done working on a Ford, so you know, I always give Ford a hard time because they always give me a hard time. So with that being said, go ahead and smash the like button if you like these types of videos. If you want to hear this type of content, YouTube algorithm really appreciates it, and my channel really appreciates it too. But number three, to a pro of being a mechanic, if you're gonna do it like I do it and be an entrepreneur, man, you got complete freedom. You know, I can choose. You know, I had a guy hit me up 2 days ago who needed a lateral bar on a 90s Toyota. I think it was a Tacoma. And I just straight up, I was like, hey man, you talking about the rear suspension lateral bar? He's like, yes. I say, is the car from up north? He says, yes. I was trying to get it out. You know, I tried to get a bolt out. One bolt broke, one bolt stripped. I say, nope, sorry man, I'm gonna give you somebody else's number. But in all reality, I couldn't find anybody who wanted to take on the job. Like every mechanic I called, it was like, nah dog, like, hey man, call X, Y, and Z, maybe they'll take it. Nobody wanted to do it. So, you know, if you're doing it, and this is on the entrepreneur aspect, you know, you get to pick and choose what you want to work on. So that brings me to my first con though. So we're gonna go through 3 pros, 3 cons. The first con is that everybody gets on YouTube and wants to be YouTube superheroes. So what that means is I'm not afraid of my gift. So I believe that what God has in store for me is mine, and no matter what I tell somebody, they can't take what's mine away from me, because that's what God appointed to me. Now somebody may come in and they may, undercut what I'm doing. Hey man, to each his own. That's the name of the game. That's just a casualty of doing business. I get that. But I'm also not gonna lower my standards down to the point where I'm running calls for free just to make the customer happy when I can't even profit off of that because somebody else wants to, do that. So that's the first con, is that, one of those casualty of businesses is that most people who got internet connection, a smartphone, and the most basic of toolboxes thinks that they're a mechanic. And it takes a lot more than that. It's actually kind of like a slap in the face when somebody does that, because they come in, if I charge $100 an hour to diagnose and they say, yo, we'll do it for 25, I can't be mad at the customer for going that route. But when that customer does come back my way because, Joe Blow down the street decided to, hodgepodge something up together, and now I gotta fix that plus fix additional issues, I'm gonna make sure I charge you for that. And it ain't out of, no vengeance or nothing. It's just, I'm not gonna, no mechanic wants to go and clean up somebody else's mistake. So just like the car I just left, I told the dude, it's running on 7 cylinders, a V8. I'm like, bro, it's the best I can get it to run on 7 cylinders. You really need to just change your cylinder head or get a new motor. I know it's expensive, but I can't do anything else, So if you want to get a second opinion, go for it. But I already know what they're gonna say. I advise you to go get somebody else, so then you can know that I'm not lying to you. But most people want to be mechanics. They want to, fix it themselves, which is great. That's why I do YouTube videos. But when a customer leaves me for somebody else because they're cheaper, you got to pay on the other end. Number 2, the con of being a mechanic. I am always dirty. Like, I have Gojo, I have Purple Power, I have all types of chemicals, man, but I still get grease on my hands. Y'all know I stay strapped with them gloves, and there's still, through the cracks and crevices it comes out. Usually I smell like oil, and I can avoid this in a lot of ways, but when I work on something, I really go all in. So, I think that's kind of one of the biggest cons, though, is that no matter how clean I try to stay, I always seem to get dirty. So, it sucks, but what can you do, So that's that. Number 3, I guess the hardest part of being a mechanic is you have to continuously get education. Everything every year is made differently. You got some things that's been made the same for 50 years, other things they're continuously changing. So you have to get education, and then on top of education, you got to get tools. So it gets old very fast to have to continuously, build your knowledge and build your tool collection just to be able to work on the newest thing. And you may or may not work on that thing more than once. I got tools that I spent $200 or $300 on that I've used maybe twice, and they didn't necessarily pay for themselves, but I guess I would say they broke even. But now, I got this tool that's kind of useless, taking up space in my toolbox. So, I guess that's kind of the hardest thing. I mean, to answer in a nutshell, for me, it depends on the individual. I think that if you have the bare minimal, at least knowledge of, changing oil, changing a tire, maybe spark plugs and wires, then yes, you should have the at least basics of knowing how to do those things. And everything's available online, so you can find out that information. But as far as like going hardcore into an endeavor, as far as like doing business or anything like that, I think that there's far more profitable things that you could jump into for less headache and less continuous education than being a mechanic. Do I regret becoming a mechanic? Absolutely not. I have a trade that I'm gonna teach my kids that they can go out and make money on. Do I want them to do this? No, I do not. It's a lot of aggravation it's a lot of, you know, continuous education for less compensation. So, you know, while I don't regret becoming a mechanic, would I advise anybody else out there to necessarily become a mechanic? No, not necessarily, but I would advise you to at least have the bare basics down to knowing how this vehicle works, how, you know, to at least do, you know, the bare minimal things as far as like changing a tire, changing oil. And one quick example, I know it's getting a little bit lengthy. I changed the oil on a 2011 Toyota Tundra the other day, and it took forever. It was like a process, you know, and most people don't want to go and do that. But I can't blame them, because most oil change shops right now, they use garbage oil, but they'll change your oil up to 5 quarts for like 20 bucks. Like, I don't even try to compete with that. I really don't try to compete with that. At a minimum, you're looking at 50 bucks, but even at that, it's still not as profitable for me to be in my big truck that gets like 7 miles to the gallon, to come out, go get the oil, do the oil change, and then have to recycle the oil and recycle the filter. It just doesn't make financial sense to do that unless I'm adding it with another service like tires or brakes or, you know, whatever else, just something else. So that's my spiel. You know, take that information and do with it what you will. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing to be a mechanic, but I think that if you're trying to do it for the money, there's far more profitable things that you could be in that makes money. And if you did it for like a side hustle, yes, it would definitely work. But then again, it distorts the industry, because everybody wants to do it as a side hustle. And then if I charge $100 an hour, they charge $25 an hour, who do you think the customer's gonna go with? Because we're in that type of society. So while it may be good for the consumer, over the long run, it's actually bad for them, because they're gonna get less quality work for that price, and then you end up paying for it twice in the end. So I hope that answers the question, y'all. Didn't want to make this too long-winded, but if you got any questions, comments, concerns, give me a comment down below. If you like the video, shoot me a like. I really appreciate it. YouTube algorithm appreciates it as well. And yeah, I'm on to another truck, because I got to go do some more work. So make it happen, whatever you're doing out there, mi gente. Until next time, mi pro mundo beneficio siempre. Peace.